Hi, my name is Chris Boyer, and I'm a graduate student at Azusa Pacific University. And for the purposes of a graduate course, TEP 533, I am creating a few videos that will be describing leadership in a differentiated classroom. This is for an assignment called Teacher to Teacher Workshop. And so my audience is first-year credentialed teachers in my content area. I am a single subject credentialed teacher candidate in the area of PE. So I'm getting my master's in PE and my authorization in adaptive PE. I will be working and discussing working in public schools. Specifically, the assignment calls for grades 7 to 12. I'll be discussing high school, so 9th to 12th grade, with a diverse student population, inclusive of the definition of all students, meaning that we want to create a differentiated classroom teaching philosophy in order to connect with the learning needs of all students. So I think this is a very important topic, the topic of meeting the needs of all students in a classroom. Creating a differentiated classroom instruction is amazing. The reason why it's amazing is because when I came into my program, I had no understanding of this whatsoever, and I did have an old school view of the way that classroom instruction works. When I started my graduate course program, I did see it as teaching was direct instruction. And I spent many years in coaching and teaching in church settings where that was the main example. If you go to church on Sunday, the preacher stands up there and preaches and everyone's supposed to sit there, and there's very little participation. And in today's classroom, which is ever increasingly diverse, we need to understand that students will have different needs. That as it pertains to this is not only in the classroom, but also in all settings we're working with groups, that a student's performance, instructional needs, social emotional needs, culture, and language barriers have to be met in order to improve teaching and learning in the modern classroom. And so we're gonna have students that are ahead of the curve, behind the curve, and everywhere in between. When I came into my graduate work, I did not understand how this style of differentiation and meeting the needs of all students. I thought this might just be for the bottom end students, and that was really the purpose of it. Or the purpose of bringing in students and creating an inclusive classroom would only benefit those students. But now I realize that meeting the needs, bringing in students with special needs and practicing a culture of inclusion will actually benefit all the students all the way up to the top. Because what this does is it forces the teacher to meet the needs of all the students in the classroom, not even starting with the bottom, but just with all the students. That if I'm trying to meet the needs of the slowest students in the room, then I'm also trying to meet the needs of the fastest students in the room, that I'm looking and searching for that student's proximal zone of development. I'm trying to understand their interests, to keep them engaged in the material, the content, and looking for problems that might exist in the room, to the environment, to the way that they're interacting with other students, and try to meet their needs and overcome obstacles. It's really a problem-solving mentality of a teacher. And so this takes a lot of forethought and interest on the part of the teacher to be a student of the students and to take meaningful assessments, collecting the data and adjusting instruction so that they can meet the needs of all students. Today's teachers must include differentiation in planning to meet the needs of all students in this increasingly diverse classroom. For me to gain proficiency in that, it's going to take studying, but then application, for me to take strategies and not just use a book of strategies, but see which ones work and become a student of my students.